The City of Albuquerque Public Art Urban Enhancement Division and Department of Arts and Culture proudly present Take Another Look. Built on the foundation of two city ordinances, Art in Municipal Places, and the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, the Public Art Urban Enhancement Division provides funds to artists to create art for the public, as well as arts organizations for arts and cultural programming. Join us as we discuss everything related to funding artists in the public realm with host Joni Palmer.
Hello, I'm Joni Palmer and welcome back to Take Another Look at Albuquerque's public art. Thank you for tuning in today for the first episode of a three-part series about Route 66, including the art installations and all the different activations along the 18-mile stretch in Albuquerque and Albuquerque's Route 66 Centennial Celebration. Today I will be talking with Deputy Director for the city's Department of Arts and Culture, Diego Lucero. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And multimedia artist Lynnette Haozous. Did I pronounce that?
Haozous.
Haozous. About the Route 66 remixed projects, one of which yours is out there already for people to experience. So thank you for joining us in the studio today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Okay, so before we jump into talking about Route 66, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself. So we'll start with you, Diego. You know, what's your background? How long have you been at the city? You know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm born and raised here in Albuquerque. Been with the city for a long time now. I've been with the city for almost 21 years. It's kind of hard for me to say that. It seems like that was a blink. But yeah, I started my career. I have a journalism degree, so I started out in the media division right here in this studio, actually, where you know, I eventually became the manager of this division, and then a couple of years ago stepped into the deputy director role.
And what do you do in that role?
So the deputy director role is about connecting vision to reality a little bit. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of capital projects, a lot of working with each of our divisions, public art being one of them. You know, we have the Albuquerque Museum, the Balloon Museum, the biopark, the libraries. It's all of those things. So there's a lot of moving pieces all the time. It's kind of just connecting a lot of vision to reality and getting artists out there to work in the community and bringing all those pieces together, truly.
Mm-hmm. And so you said you had a degree in journalism, and so you started in media. What about arts and culture? What makes you excited about working as the deputy director for this rather large, it's a big division? Yeah,
oddly enough, you know, again, with a journalism degree, I started out in news, and I thought that was going to be my career path. And when I found the job with the media division here at the city, really like opened up my eyes to all the work that the city truly does. And so, you know, being able to see that from that lens, from the production side, and being able to do some storytelling on that side, really like opened up my eyes to all that the city does. And then especially with arts and culture, working so closely with community and with artists and with, you know, just a span across the city. We know that art is extremely important here in Albuquerque. And so, again, being able to see that from behind the lens and being able to, like, you know, put that into action in a different way is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's a great trajectory for a career. You know, and oftentimes we have no idea that's where we're going to end up.
Right, absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it. So Lynnette, what is your background and how did you become interested in the arts?
Well, you know, I'm three Native American tribes. I'm Apache, I'm Navajo, and I'm Taos Pueblo. So I was born in Arizona and then grew up on all three of my tribal reservations. Between San Carlos Indian Reservation, Taos Pueblo, and the Four Corners and Navajo Nation. And so all of that really informs like my art really. And, you know, it was really hard and a blessing to move constantly when you're small, but, you know, I really come to be here in Albuquerque for the last 15 years and doing mural works for the last 10 years as a professional artist. And, you know, I'm self-taught. I have a background in social work that I got from New Mexico Highlands University. And so I've been here in Albuquerque really just growing my base as an artist and a muralist.
Cool. And so, you know, your background, we talked about this a little bit, you know, earlier this week. What do you see as the connection between your social work and the arts work that you do?
Right. Yeah. Well, I've been an artist my whole life. And so, you know, as artists, like we grow up like not really knowing if we can become real artists and taking that first step to be a professional artist. And that really came after I got my social work degree. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, you know, before that. And I know that I really had a strong sense of social justice and, you know, I was getting into a lot of activism. And so, you know, that really helped build my social work. And so after that, I got my degree, and my family was really, really adamant about getting my degree. I come from a big academic family, and so they're really adamant about that. So I got it. And after that, I was like, okay, here's my degree. You know, I'm gonna go do my art. I'm gonna be an artist, and I really just, I just really took that step, and you know, it's been a blessing ever since. And you know, the social work informs the art. You know, the activism informs the social work. The social work helps me working, coming into communities, cultural sensitivity, starting where people are at. All of that helps me work as a muralist coming into my communities in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been talking about murals, but what other media do you work in? Because you're a multimedia artist.
Yeah. So I've kind of got my start really as my first dip into being an artist in any kind of art was actually acting. I did theater acting at North Forth Art Center through Two Worlds. It's a Native American theater group. And then I've done plays at UNM. And so that was about 15 years ago. And, you know, as an artist, we always want to do different mediums. And so we pivot. And so after acting, I got into screen printing and then, you know, doing certain jewelries. And then, you know, I got into more painting, going back to my painting and doing more murals. And that became public art. And now we're in the digital age. So now it's learning digital illustration. So
wow.
That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of different things.
Yeah. And you know, the acting like helps with the activism and the public speaking and everything else. So like, I'm shy at heart. I was a little shy little kid when I was small. So like all of that is like tools in your belt, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. To go into the world. And they're just like tools that you collect along the way, even if you don't know what you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And somehow it beautifully works out.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's pretty amazing. So a little bit of background. So this year, 2026, marks 100 years of Route 66. And Route 66 is a highway that begins in Chicago, Illinois, and ends in Santa Monica, California. It opened on November 11th, 1926. And so November of this year, on the 11th, we will have some big stuff going on. There's stuff going on right now, but November 11th is the official day. So Route 66 is an historic paved highway. It's 100 years old. It largely follows indigenous trade routes that connect Native communities across North America and that have been there for centuries. More than half of the total 2,400-mile highway traverses through traditional lands of over 25 different tribal nations, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Albuquerque has the longest continuous urban stretch of the original Route 66, spanning 18 miles, and is the only location where historic Route 66 crosses itself. So it's really great to see that on the map when you look at it and you see that. Okay, so from 1926 to 1937, the highway followed 4th Street in Albuquerque before the realignment to Central Avenue from 1937 to 1985, when the highway was legally decommissioned. So think I-40. Route 66 remains an enduring part of Albuquerque's identity, full of rich culture, history, and community. The city's Department of Arts and Culture is leading the celebration of this historic highway. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on and this celebration and Route 66 Remixed. So what kinds of activities are part of this larger, and does it span a full year, or are we going January to January, or will it culminate in November?
We have lots of plans, and they'll extend a little bit past November for sure, and have started early back in the previous year. So we've been working on this for a really long time, and yeah, so when Councilor Pena has been a real champion of what the Centennial was going to be, she approached us, more than a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, Centennial's coming. What's the plan?"
Yeah.
And so we've been working on these things for a little while, and we know across the route, different cities are going to have festivals and those type of things, and we kind of do that already with our Route 66 Summerfest, and so we'll build on that a little bit, and we have plenty of other activations planned throughout the year, but our flagship project was Route 66 Remixed. Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what does that mean? What is remixed? How did you come up with that?
So what we were saying is the Route 66 Remixed is our art-fueled road trip. As you said, we have 18-mile stretch in Albuquerque, which is the longest urban stretch. So we wanted to take advantage of that. That's a big canvas, right?
Yeah.
And so, and even just with the word remixed, it was very intentional, kind of honors the history while inviting artists like Lynnette to reinterpret that. And so, we worked with our partners at Meow Wolf and Refract Studios on this idea of portals and past, present, and future, and what Route 66 has been, what it is now, and what it could be.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's very exciting. It's and I'm going to take this moment to show some of the things people can pick up to get excited about.
Yeah.
For kids and adults alike. This is a fabulous map that you can unfold, learn about what's happening along that 18-mile stretch, and start coloring. So this is one thing, and then we've got some of the stickers and some other fun stickers. Now, who created? Where do these come from?
So a lot of this work, so the stickers and logos and all of the partnerships there were done by RIPE, it's a local marketing advertising agency, which has been an awesome partner for us. So they've kind of developed a lot of this stuff. And then so back to Remixed a little bit, we had it's a collaboration of a lot of partners, but Meow Wolf was a big driving force of that, and then Refract Studio. So a part of Remixed is augmented reality. So there's physical sculptures like murals and sculptures, and then there's augmented reality as part of the stops. And then along with those, you can go to route66remix.com, and there is a narrated experience to follow this trip down our corridor. And so that's a really cool way to go about it. It's narrated by Hakeem Bellamy, kind of gives you a little bit of story about the artist and their work. And so that's a really cool way to do it. And then also this map was created by one of the artists who also did one of the projects. But it's the old school way of I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow it along with this really cool character style map of the corridor.
Yeah, I look forward to coloring it.
Yeah.
So these, you can find them in various places around the city?
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll have them, at all our cultural spaces and libraries and all those type of things. And then we also have a awesome partner in Blake Slaughterburger who helped sponsor and pay for a lot of the printing of the maps, and they'll be available at all of their stores, not only in Albuquerque but along through New Mexico. So we're hoping to catch those travelers coming in from the east and the west before they even get to Albuquerque to see this, and maybe they pick up on the tour itself. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Cool.
And
You can get your burritos and a sticker.
Get a burrito. Yeah.
right? Yeah, fuel up. So what has been the biggest challenge for you and the arts and culture team in working on this?
It's been a incredible experience to work through this, and I would say just the biggest challenge was the scale. Like, this is a massive project, 18 miles, many city departments and private partners and dozens of artists. So the coordination and logistics and just finding that collaboration was a beautiful challenge. I would say that.
Yeah.
wasn't difficult, but it was a lot of work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that sounds like that's the reward.
Absolutely.
Is that because I had no idea of all the different partners that you were working with to, just this, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is out there. There's other partners. So
absolutely.
And local people, local firms. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to celebrate Route 66 here. So as a segue to questions I have for you, Lynnette, about your contribution to Route 66, and this I'd like to talk with both of you about it, is why are murals such an important part of the Route 66 Remixed project? There's other things that are happening at these 18 locations, but why murals?
Do you want to take that one?
Well, murals are important. They've been used in the past, in history to put your mark and tell your story of what's happening. And as Native Americans, we used to paint on walls and mark that we're here. And then, murals have told what's going on in history and helped with revolutionizing, our country. And so, they're very powerful works, and with that comes a responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of what you put out there as a public artist, as a muralist. You want to have that respect going into whatever you're going into the community, or what you're going to put out there. What content is it? Is it relative? Does it relate to that community? Does it speak directly to that community, or are you just going out there to put a mark, your own mark? Just to put your own name on there. And so, like, social work, it does this decolonization, of starting where the community is, and it's not about you. And a lot of muralism, people like to put their name and claim a space, but in my approach, it's more decolonizing space and reclaiming and rematriating. And so for me, I think murals are important because we're putting our story on the city and we're making it publicly accessible.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it, is telling our story for the community and having it out there and empowering the community in that way. And so I think that's part of the history of telling our story and keeping it out there of what's really going on. And I think that's why it's important.
Yeah, the storytelling, and in unexpected places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you reach different audiences.
Yes.
And there's 18 pieces, locations, installations along that 18 miles.
A total of 19 installations.
Okay.
Yeah,
19.
Yeah,
Okay.
Utilizing 20 artists and one poet. Not that a poet isn't an artist, but
right.
yeah. So it's a massive project for sure. And just to the point of murals, I think Lynnette's exactly right. They're immediate, they're accessible. You don't need a ticket, you just show up and they're there. And then I think for this one in particular, for this project in particular, these murals are truly just activating those spaces in really meaningful ways. And I think throwing back to what Route 66 is, it was always about the journey and taking that drive. And this is a really cool way for visitors and locals to stop and enjoy that ride. There's so much so much to see, and especially now new stuff to see.
New stuff to see.
Yeah.
So how did you choose the site locations for each of these pieces, which you can find in the map here?
Sure. It was a long process. When we hit the drawing board, we put a lot of thought into spots that we wanted to hit along the route. Walls that we knew artists really have always wanted to do work on, put those all out there. And then, some of them are city spaces, so that was easy. We just, those are ours, so we'll go ahead and move forward on those ones. And then just really working with our partners, privately owned businesses and owners, to bring them in as true partners in this project. And matching them up with artists that they were gonna produce work that was not only representative of the community, but also with what as their own private business, what they thought was important to them. Yeah. So there was a lot of collaboration going through that.
Right. Sounds like a lot of different partners.
Yeah.
So your piece is called Cultural Crossroads, and it's at the 505 Central Food Hall. And before we talk about the project itself, and you've said a little bit about this already, is you've completed projects in Albuquerque and elsewhere, right? And so tell us a little bit about the murals that you're doing and that you have been doing, and then this one.
Yeah, so I've done a couple murals. When I first started out, I did a mural at Nativo Lodge, which was a private, or it was a hotel here in Albuquerque. And then from there, it just really synchronized and everything just started flowing in place. And so I have, murals here at schools in Albuquerque. I just did one in the International District, and then here downtown in one of the schools down here. And then I've done murals in installations in galleries. I have one on 7th and Central. It's at this OT Circus Gallery. So I have another one on Route 66 at 7th and Central. And so there's also, my farthest mural and one of my biggest projects too was at Portland Art Museum for an exhibition. It was a Native women's art exhibition, and I was part of it. And so, really just growing my base out, and the content of my mural is really having a lot of Native representation and authenticity. And that's really important to me, to not only have representation, but for having it be authentic, because we live in a place where there's a lot of stereotypes about Natives, and we live in the center for Native art and culture here in New Mexico. And so it's a big responsibility to go out for these projects and to put, as a Native artist, to go out for these projects and to have our authentic presence in history and in the area and in the town and community.
Right, telling that story, those stories.
Yes. Right? In an essence, putting our mark, saying that we are still here, Right. So how did you learn about this project, this opportunity, and what was the application process like? Yeah, this is actually one of my biggest projects locally. Going through the city, I've seen the city calls, the public art calls before, and I've always been really intimidated as an artist to fill out the application process. But this one started out, I actually saw the call for the augmented reality call, and I put in for that, but I didn't get it. And so they said, well, we have another call. It's for the murals, and it's for Route 66, and it's for muralists, and this might be more of your style, And so I was like, that's perfect. And so I put my application in, and, it's a whole process. You have to, have all your portfolio and recommendations, and as an artist, those big applications are very intimidating. And I think that's what really, sets artists back, is not just trying for these bigger commissions and pieces. And so I said, I think this is the year, I think I can do it, and so fortunately I got it. And there was 12 of us, was it 12 artists, 12 muralists? And the augmented reality muralists, and the process is like we all meet and we discuss the themes about the project, the Route 66, and what it's all about. And then we split off, and then we work with Meow Wolf to, they really gave us a lot of creative freedom in what we wanted to create. And so mine was really, being authentic and having that Native presence, having like Navajo rug designs and, Pueblo architecture and landscapes in the background, and somehow, trying to have that representation in my mural, and then work with Meow Wolf and see what they wanted. And then of course the business 505, and they were all really great to work with. They just had like, a few suggestions, like, the color palette wanting to match, inside and And so, you know, it was really cool to have that creative freedom in such a big project. You know, usually, you know, the client's very specific. And so that was really cool. And then, you know, from there was painting and installation. And my mural actually took a long time. I think it took like almost 3 months, but I got it done. And, you know, that's the beauty of working out in Albuquerque and in the community is you get to talk to people and see people. And
right, because you're working there in the food hall.
No, it's actually outside in the patio. Yeah.
Right, but people are there.
Yeah,
People
it's busy and bustling, and then you have, you know, the streets and the people in the community, and that's what I love about mural work is just the community feedback and like working as a live artist and having that interaction and that feedback, that energy flows. So
yeah.
It's really reciprocal.
I didn't know that you were part of a cohort, and that's a really unique way to go around. Instead of it just being artist by artist, is that you all talk to each other about this bigger project. That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's definitely needed as far as like having, you know, different input from artists from different backgrounds and cultures, you know, instead of having just the city say like, we just want, you know, Route 66 in cars or something, you know, they wanted authentic culture in there. And I think that was one of the biggest pulls for me to, you know, take on this project.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's been a really meaningful project to you as a woman artist, as an Indigenous artist, as an artist of the Southwest. Definitely.
And like I said, it's a responsibility, you know, as an artist, as an Indigenous woman, you know, to put your foot out there, to stake, you know, your claim in this art world and place and voice and history, especially being the Centennial, you know.
Right.
You want to represent your community and have them represented as well, and you know, not let the Indigenous voice be faded into the background. You know, I wanted it to be right, main, and center. And I think that's why I really put in for the application of doing it at the 505 Food Hall, because that's right in the middle of downtown. And I wanted...
It's at the crossroads.
It's at the crossroads, exactly. And that's what my mural is about is, you know, it's called Cultural Crossroads because it really highlights and honors the different cultures that have meshed here and contributed to our community and our growth, and you know, especially having the Native representation. And I thought, like, you know, this is back in the day, this is where a lot of Native Americans helped develop Route 66 to where it is now, you know, our trades, our art, our culture, you know. And so I wanted that to, you know, in the past it has been exploited, and I wanted it to flip it, you know, to take it back and to put it out there in a good way, authentic way, you know, so that we're taking our image and we're using it in a positive way. And so that's kind of what it all comes down to. It's a lot, but it was really fun.
It's a beautiful mural. The colors, as I was telling you earlier, when I see your murals, I immediately think hope. The color schemes, but there's also the different imagery that you've incorporated begs questions. You look at the images, and I would think that most people are like, oh, what is that? And then what is this? And what is this?
Yeah.
And it's part of that story that people can start to connect the dots, and then with the virtual tour, they get more information.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody goes out to that virtual tour because it's chock full of interesting stuff about the artists, about the project, about the places, and things like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've checked out the website myself and did the tour, and it's really, I was like,
That's awesome.
making sure it's cool. But yeah, it's really fun, and I enjoy what I do and enjoy being on the project as well.
So all of the murals are done.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody can get out there and check them out. And all of the installations are completed?
Everything's ready to go. Yeah.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, and just to add to Lynnette, I just want to say, like, it's really exciting to see how quickly the communities like embrace all of these works too. Just Lynnette's, her mural itself, it just feels like it transformed that space, and it just has brought like a new energy to it, I think. And I think each of the works have truly done that throughout the corridors. It's really awesome to see.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a really cool bus that Dante, one of the artists, Dante, that's also an installation. So there's not only augmented, but there's murals, and then an artist did a bus wrap. So designed a whole bus, and that has a bunch of lowriders on it, with the lowriding culture, and then it has our stops of the murals and installations. So I try to catch it, but it goes by too fast. But
I'll have to try to catch it though. That's great. Wow. So a lot of different partnerships and conversations that really make this more than about these being installations, but they are bigger than that, which is really exciting. So it sounds like there's been a lot of rewarding moments. What was your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge, I think, well, the physicality of it, right? It is outside in such an enclosed space. Yeah. But other than that, I think for me was just taking that step to apply.
Yeah. Right?
Jumping over my fears and hurdles of I'm not good enough or I'm not there yet, as an artist. And I thought back like, I am there and I can do this. And so that was the biggest challenge, but also the biggest reward. Other than, the rewarding part is just being in the community and having like the good feedback, from the community and saying, I love your mural and, I love your work and what it does to the space. And that's the most rewarding, is because they're the ones that have to see it all the time. And if the community likes it, then we're good.
So it sounds like you have a really great relationship with all the different artists who are along this route. This has been a really interactive,
I believe so.
Intimate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We worked closely for quite a while. Yeah. Well,
any final thoughts that you have that you want to share with our audience? And we'll start with you.
I just hope that this project and the Centennial in itself just encourages our residents to stop and enjoy all the little pieces and all the new work and just kind of reintroduce themselves to the city and discover it in a new way and take another look.
Yes, thank you for that. And how about you?
I think the main thing is that this project and with these murals it's just an invite for people to take a look at the rich culture that New Mexico has and the complex histories and consider that as well. And so I think that's what all of us muralists bring from our different backgrounds to this is such rich in culture, and it's a real celebration of that.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you both for joining me in the studio today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, dear listeners, if you want to learn more about Lynnette and her work, her website is her whole name, lowercase. So LYNNETTEHAOZOUS.com.
Yes.
And you can also follow her on Instagram. Lots of really great imagery up there that will make you smile. And that is at L and her last name, HAUZOUS.
Yes.
All right. So, and Diego, you mentioned this, is that you can learn more about the Route 66 and the Centennial and the Route 66 Remixed by going to, there's a Route 66 abq.com, and there's also Route 66 Remixed.com, and that's where the virtual tour is.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I've journeyed a little bit around it several times now. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the public art programs Route 66 projects, you can go to the website for the public art program. If you want to get some of this swag, you can pick it up at Gallery 1 in City Hall, at the Sunport, at Albuquerque, Bernalillo County Libraries, and some of the other places that you mentioned. So it's going to be a lot of different places. So
you'll be able to find them in plenty of places. Yeah, absolutely.
You can find all of this information and more, and you can sign up for our newsletter at our website, cabq.gov/publicart/ podcast. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will join us for our next episode when we continue talking about public art and Route 66. We hope that after you listen to this podcast that you will take another look at Albuquerque's public art. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Albuquerque Public Art Program, the Public Art Collection, opportunities for artists, and so much more, visit cabq.gov/publicart. To learn more about the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, visit cabq.gov/UETF. Tune in next time to take another look at the City of Albuquerque Public Art Urban Enhancement Division.